back to normal. Well, now we've been in this long enough to recognize that there is not going to be a return to the normal we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what we will begin to see is a new normal. And if we don't begin to prepare our minds to have a shift in preparation for this new normal, we'll find ourselves left behind. Anyone who approaches life the same way they approached it before this happened, afterwards are going to find themselves left behind because technology, attitudes, so many things have shifted around them that it takes us to enter into a very new paradigm so that we can be prepared to enact and be better and more prepared in the new norm.
Right, right. Absolutely. I agree. That is so true. I know you find a lot of people, they're complaining because they're stuck in the house. And I look at it as a blessing because I know that if I hadn't had this time to just think about what I really wanted to do, or I always knew what I wanted to do, but just having the time to implement it and do the things that I need to do to get it started. If we didn't have this downtime, I wouldn't have done it. Now, I'm not happy about the way we got our downtime, but we can't worry about that. But I know that I have it, so I'm using it to my advantage because this is something that I want to do. You know, I want to reach out to people and help people in any way that I can.
Sure. Yeah, for a lot of people, and I don't want to say it's downtime, but there's a shift
Yeah,
in in the way they're using their time. I mean, we have a lot of first responders and healthcare workers who are just as busy as they always were, or even more busy. And they're not afforded the gift of time that some of us have been able to receive. But the thing is that when we enter into this type of condition, we often want to focus on the negative. So
yeah,
we begin to see ourselves about all the things that we've lost. We've lost our social interaction. We've lost our ability to go out and do the things that we think are fun. We don't have those contact points for fellowship like we do maybe in church or other organizations. For many of us, we lose work. So it's a financial impact that we're saying, hey, I left money on the table. And so we begin to focus on all the things that were taken from us. And when we do, it puts us in a mindset where we're not happy.
right.
However, at the same time, many of us have looked at life and said, if I had more time, I would do certain things. I would read the Bible more. I would spend more time with my children. I would read. I would study. I would play games. All of these things that we said we would do. Now, there's no excuse because our time has been changed. So we've been given a gift to do and work on all those things that are most important to us. Exercise, meditate, all of those things. Write that book that we've always said we were going to write. So
Mhm.
now if we just shift toward the positive and be thankful for what we've been given, we enter into this season of a positive spirit rather than a negative spirit.
Right. I can hear you.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I thought your lips were moving. So, okay. So, I mean, and that's what's very important. So, as we really begin to think about this and we think about the gift of time, we want to take advantage of it because there's going to be a time not too long from now where all of a sudden we're busy again.
Exactly.
But are we ready to be busy? Or are we going to let certain things just get beyond us and not take advantage of it? I was talking to someone the other day and they said they couldn't wait to get back to church.
Mm,
And they said, I like the online, but I'm ready to get back to church. And that's important because there are a lot of people who are ready to get back to church. But
that's
churches can't stop having service online just because people can come back now.
that's
See,
right.
these are the types of shifts that we have to make that we can't just say, oh, this was temporary.
Mm,
And during the pandemic, we made certain shifts in our lives. We need to recognize that these shifts are ongoing and they're permanent.
that's right.
And that we have to let go of certain traditions and habits that we've always had in our lives that are now going to be counterproductive.
Right. Right.
You know, I'm old enough where I remember when they started putting computers on everyone's desk, and that was new. And everybody wanted to say, well, I'm not typing that document. That's the secretary's job, or that's the administrative assistant's job. And they would continue to write their little notes on a piece of paper and give it to someone to do for them. But as they recognized is that that was really counterproductive.
Was.
That eventually you had to move beyond that and recognize that you had to use your word processor to get the work done.
Exactly.
Even though you might have somebody else finalize it, that it was more productive for you to put it together in that manner. And because I remember when somebody would type something, you read over it and you see a mistake, the whole document would have to be
That's right.
redone.
That's
And
right.
now we're in a state where all you think you have to do is go in there and make a couple changes and reprint. And so we have to be ready for those types of changes. We can't be resistant to them. And what we've seen during this time is a lot of things that we may not have thought was in the near future are all of a sudden here. You know, so we don't need to meet all day. We don't need to go into the office to be productive at work. We don't need to do things the way we've always done it. Right. So we have to prepare our mind to shift, because if we don't and we continue to do things the same old way, it's kind of like you say, it's the definition of insanity, to try to do the same thing over and over and get a different result. Well, now the way of getting a different result is to enter this new time, accepting and embracing the this world that we're living in.
That's right. That's right.
So what I have offered, you know, in is that we have to, you know, accept 4 strategies to help us to be successful in this new norm. And the first one is that we have to accept change and embrace it, because change is already coming. It's already started changing right beneath us. Things are already different. You know, I was watching a commercial today where they were talking about this is the new high five, and both people raised their hand, but they didn't touch. Right. They said this is the new embrace, and you saw people bump arms. And these are things that are going to be new. And even though we long for embracing people with a hug, those days may be beyond us. They may not be safe. I even saw where I was watching the People's Court on television, and they were saying that if you want your case heard on the People's Court, that they will do it from your home. So just as we're doing Zoom for meetings and other things like that, they're going to do these TV shows now with Zoom. We already saw with things like Tonight Show and the news. But now, if people begin to litigate cases from their home, then we're in a whole new paradigm that we've never been in before. And so the whole piece of a judge saying, well, I want you to come and sit in my courtroom, those days are moving beyond us. And we're having those types of changes. So we need to embrace the change and recognize that it's nothing that we can do. There's no reason to fight the change.
Because it's out of our control.
And fighting it only makes it more difficult.
Exactly. I agree.
You know, we talk about being old school sometimes, and the way we want to do things and the way it's always been done, and a lot of times unable to associate meaning with the reason we did old school sometimes, and the way we want to do things and the way it's all. I'm unable to associate meaning with the reason we did old school sometimes. Patrice?
Here.
Could you mute everyone?
Is it people on here? Okay, let me.
I'm getting feedback.
Okay.
So.
Well, I don't. Okay.
The pictures, I think, would tell the story. Okay, I think everybody's muted now.
Okay.
Okay, so when you look at those types of things, and when you're fighting the change, all you're doing oftentimes is placing heartache, especially when you don't recognize why we do things that way anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole presence for doing things a certain way may have been removed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we don't need to do it that way anymore, then why continue to do it? Just because it was a tradition, or just because that's the way I like it. I mean, there's certain things that I love, and I was really sad to see us move away from it. But
Right.
at the same time, I recognize that it's more productive to do it, this way.
Yes. And it's funny because everything you're saying is so true. It's when it first started, like you said, everybody was like, okay, we got to work from home, but nowhere in our thought pattern did we think it would be 3 months in, and still the unknown, because we don't know when things are going to get better as far as the pandemic is concerned. Um, but that the change piece is very important, like it's okay to change, and it's okay to have uncertainties. And this is when your faith starts to come in, as far as I'm concerned, because if you have a faith of a mustard seed, you know that we're going to make it out of this. Now, how, we don't know. I mean, it's going to be an act of God, but you have to have the sense of faith and have a belief in something higher, so that you're not sitting around thinking about, oh, well, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this. Just use this time wisely, and start getting in touch with yourself. It's so many people out here that they can't stay in a house by themselves because they don't love themselves enough to do that. And so this is the time for what I think is, this is time for people to start doing that. Get to know who you are, learn some things that might be different that you never thought that you would like, and go from there. And like your services is perfect because there are a lot of people that need mentoring. You think but you really don't know. So it does take somebody like you to kind of bring a person in and say, okay, well, I like the way you're doing this, but you need to do that. So you're ready, and you're not sitting back on the wayside when everything starts to get busy again, and you don't know what to do, but you had like 4 months to try to figure it out. And who's to say we'll ever get this time back? I mean, we're not going to get this time back, but we'll never be in this situation again. I don't believe that. I believe that it's going to be another 100 years and we'll be long gone. But while we're here making history, this is our time to get to know ourselves and figure out what it is that you really want to do, especially when you get a certain age. I mean, we're in our season age, and it's time for us to do the things that we really like to do, and help people along the way. So yeah.
Well, and you said a lot of things that are very important, and I'll first off with the fact of how you said people, being by themselves, and when we get in this time of social distancing, or what they call social distancing, is really physical distancing.
Hmm.
And so what we really have to ensure is that we don't take that term literally and
Hmm.
become socially distanced. We
Right.
need each other more now than ever. We
Absolutely.
need to be able to reach out to one another and check on one another, and be friends with one another. And people have told me, well, during this time that I really found out who my friends are.
Hmm.
And it's because they felt like the relationships weren't sustainable when we didn't have certain other things that kept us together. Our ability to go hang out, or the other things that we want to do. but now that we're unable to do those things, then I'm not important to you anymore. And I think those are things that are very important, that we still ground ourselves with those partners, accountability partners, who one, help us stay focused on the positive.
Right.
And it's so very easy, as we started at the beginning saying, it's very easy to focus on negative.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have people in your life who help you keep positive, see, positive thoughts and positive behaviors lead to positive outcomes.
Yeah.
But if we sit during this time and don't really, you know, effectively use this time to benefit us, or if we think that just sitting here and waiting out the storm will get us through it. It's kind of like sometimes, you're in the middle of the ocean and, you want to get back to shore and you think the waves are just going to naturally bring you there, but you got to row a little bit to get you there.
Exactly.
So if you just wait, then nothing happens. And so during this time, we can't just wait for the waves to bring us what we need. We got to actually take some action and do some things to get us there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned another thing that I think is very important, and you talked about faith, and faith is very important as well, because faith is that portion that we often can't see with our natural eye,
That's right.
and it's with a discernment that we have a belief in something that we do not see.
Exactly.
And so I've made this reference many a times during this. Dr. Willie Jolly wrote a song and he published a song, "We Will Get Through This."
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we will get through it.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who don't have the faith to see that we will get through it because it's not happening the way that they expected it to.
Right.
So, as I mentioned, and many of us probably feel this, and it becomes frustrating to us, is this lasts too long.
Right.
That we went into it with one mindset and we're finding out that it's a different mindset. It's impacting us in greater ways than we originally envisioned.
Right.
And so as we look at this, we start recognizing that this is more than just a notion,
Mm-hmm.
that this is for real.
Right.
But history shows us over a period of time that people have been able to survive whatever has been brought before them.
That's right.
That they may not have been ready for it, but they've been innovative enough to get through it. And that's what we recognize today, that we still are able to survive in ways that maybe 50 years ago we never would have imagined,
Never.
because we've been innovative and thought our way through this.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I also look at the story of Moses, when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
They were going looking for the promised land. When they left, only thing they knew is that God had promised them a home.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them thought it would take 2 weeks to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them thought it was, just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But it took them 40 years to find the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
And it was discouraging, because I can imagine that as they went out there in the wilderness, that somebody looked and said, "Hey, we've gone by this bush before.
Right.
That we seem like we're turning the same corner."
Mm-hmm.
So they at some points in time begin to lose faith.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are today, because this is going on longer than we want. Our faith is being challenged because we're thinking to ourselves, we're in this too long. I'm not making progress. I'm not. But it's the belief that we will get through this.
Mm-hmm.
That faith walk that allowed them to, after 40 years, see the promised land. I don't, in no way am I trying to suggest that I believe that we're going to be dealing with this situation for 40 years.
Right.
But what I am suggesting is that we will get through it.
Yeah.
And when we get through it, we're going to find ourselves in the place that God has promised us. However, we have to stay faithful to believe that God will do what God said God would do.
Right.
And if we stay faithful to that belief, then it's easy for us to then stay positive,
Mm-hmm.
because we know God is able
Right.
and God will take care of us and provide for us during this time.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. You said a mouthful right there. Really, no. I mean, because I think, uh, you know, some people. I don't. Nah, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. There are more people out here to me that aren't faith based. You know, they weren't brought up like, we were brought up where we had to go to church every Sunday, no matter what. It wasn't up for discussion. It wasn't we could sit in the bed all day on Sunday. You got up and you went to church. And that's not how it is nowadays. And so I think when you don't have that connection and you haven't been brought up like we were, because I can say we because I know that we both were brought up like this. There is a God, and things might be rough now, but you will get through it. And you do find solace when you can just sit down in a corner and just talk to God, and then you feel better. Like, I mean, with me, that's how it works with me. And so that faith piece is just it's really important for people to have. Really important.
And
Well,
it's,
I wanted
go
um
ahead.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask you now. I know that you are going to be doing a few things coming up with Team Champion. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the different things that you are doing online, webinars and things like that. And for people, and also like when we get off, you can send me an email or whatever, and I'll put it up, post it on my page, so that people can see what it is that you're doing to take us to the next level. It's never a time that we know everything. Every day we should learn something new. Every day. I used to tell my son that all the time. I said, if you haven't learned something new, then that means you didn't do anything today.
But and thank you for giving me that opportunity, because it's very important that as we go through change and we look at things, and I mentioned accountability partners, and
Yeah.
I think it's very important for us to have those individuals in your life. And one
Hmm.
of the services that I offer as part of Team Champion is executive coaching. And because we're in such a time of change right now, we began to offer a special to do virtual coaching sessions for individuals at between 33 and 50% off of our normal price, because we recognize that during this time, individuals need to have that person to work with them and walk with them and partner with them. And we use a three-pronged approach that we focus on of accountability. We're going to be your accountability partner. We're going to collaborate with you and work with you to process your thoughts and your action plan. And we do this in order that we will transform you into achieving the goals that you want to achieve. And this is a service that we have been providing for some time, but we also are recognizing that there's a stronger demand right now. And during these times, we want to be able to offer them at a discount. Individuals can go to my website at brianchampion.com and go to the book me area, and you'll see various pricings. Make sure that you hit the button that says special, because if you hit the regular price button, it will charge you the regular price. So you want to hit the button that says special so that you get the discount. You can also find the ability to register for those at on the Team Champion Facebook page.
Okay.
Additionally, we're going to be doing a lunch and learn, a brown bag lunch and learn on Wednesday, June the 24th at 12 noon. You can actually get that on Zoom using the same password and login information that you get today to get in this Zoom, because Patrice has uh, said that she'd be willing to host that. And we're going to do a 1 hour session talking about, in particular, uh, using emotional intelligence to survive, thrive, and win in the new normal. And again, this is all about the mind shifts that we find that we have to be in. Many people are in this pandemic only looking to survive.
Mm-hmm.
We want to begin to look at mind shifts to help people move from surviving to thriving and winning. And if we are very active and engaged during this time and proactive in the things that we do, we can win
Mm-hmm.
and find ourselves in a good place in the new normal.
Right.
Steve Covey talks about this, and he says that begin with the end in mind. And that's the thing that we focus on. If you begin with the end in mind, knowing what that end goal, what that end product is going to look like,
Mm-hmm.
then we can help assist you and guide you to getting to that end goal, putting first things first, prioritizing, doing things because people say you can't have it all. I believe you can have it all, but to have it all, you have to do it in order. There's an order that it comes in to get it. But when you try to get it all at once,
Mm-hmm.
then you find yourself that you can't handle everything at one time. So we work with you through a methodology that helps you prioritize, put things in place so that everything you do helps you grow and get to that end point that you're looking for.
Okay. Okay. That sounds great. Um, so I was going to ask you, and I'm going off the subject just a little bit, only because we've been dealing with it. Um, so basically, I wanted to know what is your thought about the all this the protesting and with this the racism that has never left, but for some reason people think that it was long gone, but it never left. So what are your process with that? I mean, how do you feel? People kind of feel defeated when they saw that. So for a person to see that and they get defeated, that you would tell them to make them feel like don't let that situation keep you from moving on forward with what you plan on doing, because certain things can can bother a person and they be like, oh, I'm not going to do it because it's just not going to work. So what would you tell somebody, because they're frustrated, they're looking at the TV, they see the president, they see our people getting murdered just broad daylight. So what advice could you give them to make them feel like just you got to push forward, just keep pushing, don't let that get in the way? And yes, you should be upset, and if you want to go out there and protest, go ahead, but don't let it stop you from doing what you have to do, because what you might be doing can be of service to somebody that has dealt with that kind of situation, which is very unfair, because to me that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that in my life. So that was just the modern day lynching to me. So it was a shock. I mean, I really had to pull myself together because I could not believe what I was seeing on TV. But like a year or two ago, that would have stopped me from doing a whole lot, because I would have been like bringing that all that energy into me and not being able to be positive to move forward to help someone else. So what would you tell somebody like me if I was me 2 years ago? I guess I should say.
Well, first of all, what we saw was a very unfortunate situation, and you know, the worst part of it is that this is nothing new. This is something that we have experienced over and over through the history of our country.
Hmm.
And now you see people responding in a way that is um, and outrage.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, you know, just like many other things, is that you get to a point where enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our society has found themselves in a place where they are feeling less tolerant of certain behavior.
That's right.
Now, some of that falls in the fact that, you know, George Floyd was killed, and he wasn't the first killed, because you had Freddie Gray and Trayvon Martin, you have Michael Brown, and all these other young black men who have uh, been killed.
Mm-hmm.
But today you get to a point where it's saying, "Hey, this is too much."
Right.
But you're also in a place where people are very sick and tired of being given misinformation.
Mm.
So during this time of being in this pandemic, we've also been very confused by leadership
Mm-hmm.
in how and what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you have all of this come together, you find people who are strongly in their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in your emotions, you begin to react out of those emotions. So uh, the protest and other things that are going on are come out of that fact that people are very emotional about the state of the world and the state of their lives and what they feel is going on for them.
Right.
What I'll say in response to um, is that when we're in our emotions,
Mm-hmm.
that we have to also have a sense of self-control.
Mm.
In a sense of self-control, that's what allows us to have a peaceful protest. And
Mm-hmm.
what allows us to stay focused on the subject and not allow side things to get us more engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, people will try to get us off of the subject
Mm-hmm.
in order to make us look bad or look like we're not united. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to stay very focused on the fact that we have uh, things that we're unhappy with, and we're bringing it to your attention. And we can do that very peacefully.
That's right.
And so we're not going to be antagonized. We're not going to be uh, scared away. But
Mm-hmm.
also, in that comes resilience.
Mm.
And resilience is a very important thing, because resilience is what helps us get over being discouraged.
That's right.
And in times like this, it is easy to be discouraged.
That's right.
For an African American man, do I want to even get in my car and drive to the store out of fear
Right.
that I may be attacked, or
Mm-hmm.
that something may go on, that this may be the last time I leave my house?
Right.
But it's the resilience that helps us to understand that we have to continue to go on.
Mm-hmm.
That yes, we have to do things in a way that's safe and smart,
That's right.
and we have to protect ourselves, but
Mm.
we also have to go on.
That's
And,
right.
and that's what is most important, is because if you give up in situations like this, then you're actually giving the opposition control,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they want you to do. They want to beat you down into submission to a point where you don't care and that you'll just give up.
Right.
And at that point, they've won.
Right.
So we can't allow scenarios like this to get us down. And
Exactly.
what you see also in this current scenario, in this situation, is that, and we talk about Black Lives Matter, and people have fumbled over words and say all lives matter. And that's very true. But what you see is that now you have individuals beyond African American and people of color who are saying, this just ain't right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to tolerate it either. When they begin to look at the collective good of our society, there's nothing that good comes out of killing Black men.
Nothing.
There's just nothing productive that comes from that. And when we move into a place where we recognize that behavior like this hurts our whole society,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then we begin to be able to stand together.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stand together, we're able to then, have a stronger voice.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. I agree. I do like how you are seeing not just African American people. You like you said that it's everyone. Everyone is tired of the 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 injustice be behavior that we always get. And the first thing they want to say is, you know, the person was on drugs, they were erratic. I mean, white people can be on drugs, but they're not shooting them down. They're not stun gunning them and college students in a car. They're not doing that to white students. They're doing it to black students, which are our children. And it's really frustrating, especially me. I think about it because it's like almost like we're going backwards. So I'm hoping with all the marching and and everything that's happened with George, we won't go back. But I felt before this happened that we were going back, and I felt that way because of the person we have in office. And I just, when you have a leader and that leader is, you could say, a dictator or whatever, then that's what you're going to be living in for 4 years. And God forbid if we have to go another 4 years, because I don't even think this country will even make it. But, just him, he's not a spiritual person at all. And he doesn't even give you a calming feeling, like, yes, things are chaotic, but he gets on there and he makes everything worse. Whereas, President Obama would get on there, show his emotions, and he would, it was like a reassurance, like, we're gonna get through this. I don't know how, but we're gonna get through this. But we're not getting that. We're not getting that now. So it's like we as a people, we have to keep pushing forward and pray that our sons and daughters, when they say, "Oh, I'm going to the store," or "I'm going to the library," or "Bye, Dad, I'm getting ready to go to school," and you don't see them no more because of something like that, you know. And it was interesting because I look at CNN all the time, and I did not realize that George was in a car. He was in a car, but he had other people in the car with him. And what they said, they interviewed his friend, and he said that he saw the whole thing happen. And they asked, "Well, did they arrest you and the other people?" He said no. So they didn't have anything on him. They just wanted to bother George because they let the other guys go. They said they didn't even go to jail. Just let them go. So I mean, this is the society that we are living in, and it's frustrating because we do know that we have a lot of single parents out here, and I'm going somewhere with this. And we have a lot of single parents that are raising sons by themselves. And so you have a lot of young men out here that are very misguided. And so my question to you, what do you think should happen with trying to get these young men that have been misguided? What is there a solution to this, so it's not a situation that just because they were misguided, they don't end up in prison? That's basically what I'm going with this, that they can thrive and win, but they have to have people like you and other positive black males that's going to help them. And it's not going to be an easy job because when they have something in their head, that's it. But I do believe that all children are reachable. I believe that. And I can say that because I raised my son by myself. And he graduated from college. He had two kids while he was in college. He sat out a year and a half. And then he decided, look, I'm not going to be able to afford my children making $12 an hour or $6 an hour at McDonald's. This is not going to work. So he went back and he went to summer school for 2 years, and then he came on out. Um, and that was a blessing. And people were like, well, he did it on his own. I'm like, yes, he did it on his own, because when he decided he wasn't going to go back, I wasn't going to say you need to go back. I wanted him to make the decision, because at that point he was making a decision as a young man that just had a child, and he didn't want to leave his child. And then they ended up having another one, but he did graduate. And so there are stories out here that kids can become successful, but then you have to also understand my son's situation is different from somebody else's, because I had positive male role models in my life and in his life. So my father alone was his number one person. And then I had friends that were positive role models, and he actually followed behind them, with his major and everything. So I just wonder, for these young men that are lost, and then they see things like this, police out here doing what they're doing. What can we do to help some of these misguided young black men?
Well, one thing that's very important with young people in general, and I say that is because we have to work with our young African American men and our young women, uh,
Hmm.
to show them that they have options.
That's right.
Far too many times that they are raised in an environment that limits them from seeing the options that are out there.
Hmm.
So they begin to make choices based on the fact that they think that there's a limited selection to go from. Even in the early days, I remember my mother telling me how that when you graduate from high school, what the choices were, and if you went to college, there were only certain majors that were to be considered teacher, nurse,
Hmm.
and things of that nature for young women. But now we are at a point in life where options are unlimited,
Unlimited as
but individuals don't always see those options are unlimited. And what we have to realize too in face in a crisis is that we are in a world that's changing. And in this changing world, that there is a need for intelligent, educated African Americans.
hmm
Because without them, as whites are having less children,
hmm
and we depend on a working class and a business class to keep our economy going, that the only way you can do this is to have a diverse workforce.
right.
What we also look at is that by the year 2050, which really isn't that far away now, but at one point it seemed like forever, by 2050, the dominant race is going to be mixed.
Hmm.
Individuals who are of mixed race.
That's
And
right.
when you reach a point where mixed race is the dominant race, well, how does that affect racism?
Hmm.
And so, what we often see in history is that when you see uh, people who are in power,
Hmm.
they begin to favor those who are like them.
Hmm.
So, also now, non people, whites and others are afraid because they see this trend coming.
Hmm.
So, to you know, kill or imprison young black men
Hmm.
begin to also limit the amount of children
Hmm.
that will happen. See, some of these folk will never have children.
Hmm.
And so there'll never be a legacy behind them.
That's right.
But what we have to really begin to focus on is to focus on the fact that it's not about racism or anything, but we have to put it into prejudice behavior.
Hmm.
Because if you believe in prejudice and you believe in sexism and all these things, it just becomes a time before there's a shift,
Hmm.
and what you are is the part that's being discriminated against. So
Right.
if we can really begin to focus on a society that really lives in thinking of all men and women are created equal, and begin to work in a community where that's where we're raising our young people. And I mean that we're raising young African Americans as well as we're raising young whites.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I teach a class on race and privilege
Oh.
at a college here in Washington D.C. And I do that with freshmen, 18, 19-year olds who've come to a community where they say at American University, which is like 6% people of color, that's the place where they've seen more people of color than they've ever seen anywhere in their life when they come from certain communities. And
Right.
so their conditioning that they come to the school with is a conditioning of where they're not necessarily racist, but they also have a very limited understanding and expectation for what they think of minorities
Mhm. Mm.
because they haven't been exposed to them. And
Right.
so we have to really work very hard with young people to get them in a mindset where they are accepting, where
Mm.
they are open, because you know racism, sexism, all of these things are learned behavior. When
Mm.
you watch two children at an early age be in the same room and they interact with each other, they don't realize that one's a boy and one's a girl. They don't recognize that one is black and one is white.
Mm.
What they realize is that here is a peer.
Right.
And so they try to begin to socialize with that peer, but it's through the way they've been conditioned that all of a sudden somebody says, boy, you play with a truck, girl, you play with a doll. So don't go over there and play with that doll. They tell their sons, don't go play with that doll and that girl.
Mhm.
I want you to be tough and hard. Then they also teach them that, okay, no, don't go over there and spend time with those, people of color because, they're not at our level or they're not at our community.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
To
That's
the point that even for some whites, when they see successful African Americans, they think that they're special, that they are, well, they're not like regular black people. They're special. Everybody else is this way,
mhm.
they fit into that stereotype rather than believing that this person who fits outside of the stereotype actually fits the model of what an African American is like.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And so we have to begin to move that shift in thinking that allows people to see each other and not just see a African American male as threatening,
Right.
And we also have to move to a place where African Americans feel more comfortable with the police.
Right.
And that's not easy.
And it's not. It's
So
is
when the lights come behind me and start flashing, I'm an old guy. I still ain't comfortable with the fact that something might happen.
exactly. And me being a black woman, I don't even feel comfortable because it's not even they just going after the young men, they're going after the young women. I mean, it's a lot of women out here on young kids in general that's we're going through this sex trafficking, so they don't even know where they are. Sometimes those kids get missing and they are in a whole different country and they have learned a whole new language and everything. So that is going on out here. We have so many things to contend with. Um, so I guess what I was going to say now with the coaching, they can go on your website and they need to click on the special button so that they can get the discount for the coaching. Is that what you said?
Right. If they're on my website, they will see several prices. But the prices that say special are the prices that are being offered as part of this preparing for the new normal special.
Mhm.
And like I said, they're between 33 and 50% uh, marked off.
Okay.
Uh, there are still the regular prices there. So a person would see them. I didn't take those off the site. If
Right.
you go to the Facebook page, on Facebook, on the Team Champion Facebook page, there are three buttons where you can register, and all three of those buttons actually do show the discounted price.
Okay. Now, when we do get back to some sense of normalcy, I know, will you be doing more interacting type things like at a, at a hotel where you get have people together and, play out situations, or are you going to just basically stay with the Zoom and other avenues?
Well, we'll continue to do our virtual presence, where we'll do sessions like this one, as well as the one that's coming up on the 24th. We'll
Okay.
probably do some more series, some free dialogue, but we'll also do some in-person things, and hopefully when things get back to going, our federal clients will be inviting us back out, but we're also prepared to do those things virtually as well, as some conferences have moved to a virtual platform. So I was invited to speak at a women's conference in July in Orlando,
Mm-hmm.
and it has moved virtual. So I'll be able to do it from my home.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. I was going to have an opportunity to spend 4 days in Orlando, but now uh, I get to do it from here, which also frees up time for me to do and spend time with other clients and others as well,
Right,
because I don't have to physically do the travel.
right, right, right. Um, so before we go, what positive word would you have for people in this time to make them feel like, to be at ease with things will get back to some sense of normalcy? And how would you tell them to find other ways if they're not happy in their position? Is that something that you all deal with? It is that like a survey? Do you all do like a survey before the person gets, starts, you start coaching them so that you know what it is that they're trying to, even if they don't know, you kind of see the picture, you can help them out? Is it a survey that you do to help them out, or is it just a one-on-one consultation and the person is trying to explain to you where they want to be in their career?
Right. In executive coaching, it is a one-on-one experience. Uh, it's not uncommon to not know. We say begin with the end in mind. It's not uncommon for a person to have a goal that when we dialogue into it deeper, that that's not really the goal. That might be a byproduct of
Mm,
what should be the goal, or that all of the things that they're doing in preparation to prepare themselves to reach that goal aren't really impacting in the positive way that they want to.
mm,
So we spend time with you to help you to determine that. But at the end of each session that we spend, you walk away with particular action items, as well as we have a goal of that session.
mm,
And that goal of that session is a goal that supports toward the long-term goal. So a lot of people will vary in how many sessions they need. Some will only want one session. Others, want between 4 and 6 sessions
mm-hmm,
to deal with it. And then we even will be working with them to determine how we space it out. Because you don't want to do coaching where, oh, I'm going to coach you 6 weeks in a row, but the actions that you need to take in between those
right.
are actions that take some time.
Mm-hmm,
So we look at it from that perspective, that we might do 6 sessions, but it might be over 6 months. It might be over 9 months. It may be over 6 weeks, depending on what it is, because you may have something that you want to complete by a certain date.
mm-hmm,
So we're coaching you around it. But every coaching relationship is personal in that it's tailored for the individual.
mm,
So I would not try to impose what worked on someone else on another individual because it may not support their style.
Right.
So that's what executive coaching is all about. Um, but also, what I would say, as you said, is a parting shot of closing. What's important to know is that during this time, that you're still in control.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that COVID-19 and this change has been placed upon us. And when we feel it's placed upon us, we also feel that it is something that we just have to accept. No,
Right.
we don't have to accept it. We have control over it. We have a control, first of all, of how we receive it. And when we recognize that we don't have to just accept it and that we can maneuver things and work it to our advantage, then we are able to move forward. We're able to, again, have positive thoughts leading to positive results. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when this first thing started out, the biggest thing I thought to myself was, I want to reinvent me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at, uh, I've been saying to myself, I want to go back to school, and but never had the time or the money.
Right.
And during this time, what I have found out is that there's more free webinars than you could count. There's really good information by some of the best thought leaders in the country that are out there. And I was able to spend time in some of these webinar seminars, reading some of the books, doing some writing myself,
Mm-hmm.
and those things. So when I'm looking at my courses that I teach for American University,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those courses are coming with so much new content that they didn't have before this time
Right.
because I felt that I was going to take control over my own development. And these are the things that we all are able to do. We can take control over our situation and determine what we want life to look like in the new normal. So,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, you have to embrace it because change is coming. You have to have faith to know that it's going to end at some point in time. You have to also recognize that you are in control. But the last thing that's important is that it's time for you, when you get there, to enjoy it
That's right.
because it's what it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what it is what you make it. So
Exactly.
make it something that's special and important to you so that you can benefit from it and enjoy it.
That's right. Now, what would you say for the post-pandemic part of what would you what is your suggestion? Because I know you said accepting the new normal, but post-pandemic. So, what are your thoughts for the post-pandemic when
Well,
people back
the
out?
post pandemic is the new normal. When
Oh,
this pandemic is over, and we find ourselves being able to do certain things that we haven't been able to do before,
right. Okay.
you know, but we find that we have to do it differently. But
Mm-hmm.
also there's a blessing in all of this that's gone on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, many of us have learned so much more about ourselves, about technology. We've been innovative. We found new ways to do things we never imagined.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. So I'm going to ask you this: do you have sessions for young Black men that are serious about moving forward, but they just don't know how to move forward because they don't have that positive role model in their life to tell them that they can be better than what they see. So, do you have programs for young men like that they want to do something, but they just don't know how to go about doing it? Is there anything that you can offer them moving forward? And it doesn't have to be just a young Black man. It could be a young Black woman. I mean, just they don't have that person in their life to say, well, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. They don't have that. All they see is defeat. So, and it's hard, when you're in a defeated situation, it's hard to see positive. So, do you offer anything for that, or is it just for professional coaching?
Well, yes, I mean, I am very open to a lot of things that would help young black men. I would also offer that there's just so much out here, and that we have to work together. There is in the black church. We have ministry to men, and how ministry to men is focusing on developing young black men. There are mentoring programs here in Prince George's County, Maryland, uh, Mentoring to Manhood, a wonderful program that is doing some awesome things. There are a lot of programs out here. I also invite people to watch on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. My Brother's Keeper with Michael Green and I, where we talk about concerns of men. And a lot of the topics we talk about are very relevant for young men. Uh,
Mm,
but I am not at this point in my life, I'm not trying to sell coaching services to young men,
mm,
but there are many things that I'm willing to do with young men
mhm.
to help them and support them. And
Right,
help them in one way is that if I can't do it, then sometimes pairing them with the right program that can.
right.
And one of the things we have to learn is that uh, we have the same mission and the same goal, and
Mhm.
sometimes we have to partner together to ensure that these goals are being met.
Right.
And so it's time to refer someone to a program that can be beneficial and helpful to them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm only asking that because we do have a lot of young men out here that are misguided, and we also have young women out here, and you just you want to be able to tap them into something that will make a difference in their lives, because they don't have anyone positive to say, oh, you can be the president of the United States. I mean, like our parents would tell us that, oh, you can be the president of the United States. Some kids don't have that. You know,
Right.
so when you don't have that, you don't know that you can do whatever you put your mind to doing. You can do whatever you want to do, as long as you're serious about it. It will happen. It will
I
happen.
agree. And, in a lot of schools, now there are men's groups who are coming in to provide mentoring and other services to young men. But the parents also have to see the importance in this enough to have them attend
That's right.
and
That's right.
to get them engaged, because these services out there, we see Men Make a Difference Day in the schools. Um, Most of the fraternities, well, I'm not going to say most, but every black fraternity and sorority uh, in this country have programs to help young people.
Hmm.
Uh, if it's Greek or not Greek,
Hmm.
those organizations do a lot. There's a lot of social African American organizations that have programs benefited for young people. But in some of those cases, I've heard where you know they can't get people to come.
Hmm.
So we have to put a responsibility on parents
That's right.
to begin to lead their children in a way that help them understand the benefit of getting this exposure.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Yes, I do. I agree with that. Well, you were talking about the church, and we both are CME. Um, so what do you see? This is going to be my final thing. But oh, wait, first, let me just say this. What are you a Q?
I am.
Okay, okay. I didn't realize that. I did not until I think a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I didn't know he was a Q. My dad was a Kappa. Yeah. Um, but the last thing I was going to say is I end my session with one word, and the one word. What do you think? What do you feel that it brings happiness, or is it what does it do for you? So your word is going to be entertainment. So what is entertainment for you? How does it make you feel, and what do you like as far as entertainment is concerned?
Entertainment for me is just relaxing, and Probably the social part of me just enjoys having a good conversation with some friends.
Okay. Yeah, you've always been real quiet.
Still am.
Yeah, was quiet. Yes. Well, Brian, I really enjoyed our interview, and I thank you so much. I really got a lot out of this. And if you don't mind, can you just tell the people again how to get in touch with you and your different handles so that they can perhaps reach out to you if they would like to get some coaching? Because I definitely am going to go on the website and look for this special because I need some mentoring over here myself. So yeah. So can you just tell everybody, how to get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, first of all, again, thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate what you're doing. And I wish you the best in launching your new podcast. I think this is week four for you. So I'm wishing you well in this new venture. But getting in touch with me, you can reach me at bryanchampion.com.
Mhm.
Um, that is my webpage, and that's Brian with a Y, BryanChampion.
Mhm.
I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Team Champion Act Network. And you can find episodes of My Brother's Keeper, as well as we're starting to put other Brian Champion content on that page, which this will be one of the shows that will be on that page. You can also reach me via LinkedIn,
Yeah.
uh, and you can reach me on Facebook. I have a personal Facebook page, but you can also follow Team Champion at the Team Champion webpage, Facebook page.
Mhm.
So all of those are ways to get in touch with me. I think I saw a chat message where, let's just see, could I post the events to the chat? I will. Oh, okay. Uh, I will send the next couple of events out and the flyer out to. I think I have everyone's email here, and I will send that out so that you have it, because I believe if I post it on the chat, by the time I post it, everybody would have disconnected.
Oh, okay. Um, Now you said you're team champion on YouTube. You said team champion and what?
Act Network, ACT Network.
Oh, okay.
And you can like and subscribe that YouTube channel, which will give you notifications every time we post something new.
Okay. Now, the team champion, is it case sensitive? Any of the with your email or your YouTube and your LinkedIn, are you Brian Champion on the LinkedIn, or are you Team
Now
Champion?
I'm Brian Champion on LinkedIn.
Okay. And then on the Facebook, you are Team Champion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Brian, I really appreciate this time. Please know this will not be your last time on here. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of things that we can collaborate on moving forward. Oh, yeah, I see it. Um, and um, and I hope, if you need me for anything, please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to assist in any way that I can, because what I do know is it takes a team to work together to be where we need to be. So I do honestly, I am so appreciative of you, and I'm appreciative that you had some people to come on. That's awesome. That is awesome that you have followers and everything. So I hope that we can get together again and talk about something else. And I'm definitely looking forward to the lunch, brown bag lunch, which is on the 24th.
Yes. At 12 noon Eastern time.
Eastern time. Yes, and I'm looking forward to that. And any other activities that you have, please shoot them to me. I will put them on my page. I'm glad to do whatever you need me to do. One thing I am going to start doing, and I'm going to start doing it soon, is I'm going to take Thursdays to just give a shout out to different places. So like I'm gonna do Team Champion, and you might have some new stuff coming in. I'll be able to say, well, tell them what you have going on or what have you. So that's something that you can keep in mind. If you have something coming out and you want me to get it out to people, I will do that. And you can always call me if you just need to get something out and you want to use my page to get something out. That's fine too. We're here to
Thank
help.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Oh, yes. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I know you were here for Dr. Champion, and I appreciate it. And hopefully, you all will be able to, you'll subscribe to my page, which is The Risen Woman. And it's the lowercase THE, and Risen is all caps, and woman is all caps. And it's mental awareness and motivation. And so I don't just say for women, I'll also look at it for men too. I mean, because mental illness is very prevalent and it's nothing to be ashamed of. You should always know that you can talk to somebody and things, will eventually get better. And I can say that because I am a person that lives with mental illness, but I have learned how to channel my emotions and do better for myself. So that's all I had to say about the risen woman. But Brian, thank you
And
so.
you're on every Monday at 6 p.m.
Yes, every Monday at 6 p.m. Unless my guests need to go a little later, it might be 7. But I will always say if I have to change the time for that reason, I will make let you know. But I am gonna, peep in and, say a little something positive for like midweek or something like that. But my interviews are always going to be on Mondays at 6. And if I have to move it up to 7, I can do that as well. Yes. So, oh, and my brother's keeper. Now, how do they get to that? I meant to ask you that.
Um, they can find that on Facebook.
Okay.
If they go to Dr. Michael Green's webpage uh, on Facebook.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, all right, Brian, I'm gonna say good evening and thank you again. And again, I want to thank the guests that also came on this evening. And I look forward to seeing you all again. And hopefully, Brian, if it's like I said, if it's anything that you need me to do, I am there for you.
All right. Thank you. And same here.
All right, you have a wonderful evening.
Okay. Take care. Good
Okay,
night, everyone.
good night.
Good night. Great program.
Thank you, Dr. Pinkett.
All right.